Good morning. Are we on?
Yes.
Not quite. There we go. I love this time of year, mostly because of the music and the tamales and the pozole, but especially the music. I'm going to do one of my favorite carols. It's a song called In the Bleak Midwinter. Just to center us a bit, thank you. When Miranda was getting to that higher note, I was like, I hope she doesn't go into an early labor or something. I was getting a little worried, but everything worked out. I was here Friday night, Reverend Bonnie's induction. That was awesome. I recognized a lot of you there. What I really loved was seeing how many people came from Unity, came from Wellspring. It's just such a reminder that we really are a very strong spiritual community. And each one of us, as part of that community, is doing what we can, what our theme this month is here, be a channel for peace and change. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. But, you know, I'm a musician, and I travel a lot, and I find myself in the strangest places. So I had to cut out of the installation early because I had another gig that I had to go to. Now see, gig is what we musicians, that's how we refer to our jobs. So once on Facebook I said, I am going to be gigging here and gigging there, and so somebody put, what is gigging? And I thought, how could you not know that word? And so they looked it up and they put, it turns out that gigging also refers to hunting frogs for consumption. So, I will not be doing that. So, yeah, you have a little gig fork, a little. It's very, very frightening. So Friday night, that's when it was, right? Friday night? Was that the 12th? Yes. Okay. December 12th. I went over to this gig, to this job on the other side of town, out by a mountain, or as we call it, Tortugas Mountain. And I had no idea what to expect. These people called me and said, hi, Mr. Granger. And I thought, uh-oh, shouldn't have answered it. And so they said, we found you online and we're having a party. Will you come and play some music for it? And I said, okay, you know, that sounds good. I'm not doing anything else. So I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know who these people were. I'd never met them. I didn't know what I was getting into. But during the holidays, I learned a lot of Christmas music. So I practiced a bunch of Christmas music, and I showed up, and they brought me into the back door, which is not uncommon for musicians. We're used to back doors. And so they brought me into the back door, and they said, we're introducing you as a cousin because you're a surprise to everybody. And I said, you know, it's a good surprise, you know. And they said, yeah, you'll understand. So I go in there, and it turns out this is just an incredible story. Like I said, you find yourself in the most unique places, and you find yourself in places where you get to practice what you practice. You get to practice your practice, in other words. So here I was, and it turns out this party was to mark a 60th anniversary of this family, this extended family from New Mexico, California, Albuquerque, Texas, Iowa, of going up to Tortugas Mountain. Do you guys know about that? Every December 12th or around that time, people from the Tortugas tribe and Tortugas church in Tortugas, they climb up there and they light bonfires. Now they go up there as a pilgrimage. And part of the pilgrimage, what they're doing is they are marking December 12th, which is the day of La Virgen de Guadalupe, or the Virgin of Guadalupe. So I was part of there, and their patriarch was this man who had climbed up there for 60 years until he passed away. And his last climb was in 2006, and he was 83. So they climb up there, and it's really cold up there. You know, they climb up there, and they light these bonfires and these tires. They stay up there all night. They actually walk from Tortugas Church all the way up the mountain. It's a beautiful tradition. I just thought, wow, this is amazing. How did I end up here? You know. So, and they said he loved, what was his name? His name was Freddy Nando Martinez. And if you Google him, there's a big Sun News article on him. There's been a lot of stuff written about him. Just a tremendous man of devotion. And so they said he loved Indian music. And so we were wondering, it'd be great if for the 60th, they brought everybody all together from all parts of the country, and they were celebrating it. And they said, we want to find an Indian. And so they Googled me, and somehow they found a Native American flute player, Indian, Randy Granger. So, and they said, we couldn't believe we looked at your calendar and you weren't working that night. I said, well, I was. I just forgot to put it on there. And so they were saying, God brought you to us and everything, and, you know, just going with the flow. So I'm out there playing, and it's really cold. And there's A Mountains. It's all lit. It's lit up with a big A up there, and they have a fire going. And so when I go to take a little break after an hour, because my fingers weren't working anymore because I was outside, so I was walking in with my hands. I wanted to shake hands. I didn't want to shake hands because I was so cold. I said, do you have any coffee I can thaw my fingers out around? So they bring this scrapbook out, enormous scrapbook, chronicling from the very, very first time that they had gone. And it's just really amazing, very inspiring. Then they asked me, have you climbed it? Have you ever done that climb? I said, no, it's too cold. You know? And they said, well, you're Catholic, aren't you? Yeah, about that much. I said, how do I answer this? I mean, because there's 75 people all looking at me, you know, Catholics. And so they're looking at me, and you're Catholic, aren't you? And I said, I went to Catholic school. I was an altar boy till I was 17, you know. I went to midnight mass. I had to, you know, because I was an altar boy, so we had to go. Really funny stories about that, but I'll save that for another time. But so they said, well, you should come to our church. And I said, oh, well, you know, I'm really busy. And I speak at churches and I play at other churches. And they said, oh, well, you know what? You believe in Jesus, don't you? And I was like, oh, no, you know. I don't really want to have this conversation in front of 75 people. I mean, they hadn't paid me yet, and so, and then they bring out this huge book, and it's the Sun News photo of the patriarch, Freddy Nando, and he's climbing up the mountain. And then they told me the story about, see, part of making that pilgrimage, it's a big day in Mexico, is you make petitions. You make petitions to the Virgin. And so his wife had become really sick once. She had been diagnosed with cancer, and it was terminal cancer. And so he made a petition, and he told, you know, God, he said, I will go up and I will stay the night up there, and if you'll help my wife out. And so about 2 months later, her diagnosis came back clean, her prognosis was clean. And so he didn't go for 1 year, and then his sister got really sick with a similar cancer. So then he said, okay, I'm gonna go up every year if you'll heal them. So they were telling me about, you know, it was a big miracle and everything, and I don't doubt it at all. So, but part of that is to make a petition to go up there to ask for some kind of miracle. Now see, my ancestors are actually from that area. They're from the Yucatan area. And I happen to know that the Virgen de Guadalupe, she appeared in 1531 to this Indian named Juan Diego. And he was a young man, and she said to him, build a church up on this mountain here, which is Mountain Tepeyac, I think, just outside of Mexico City. And she said, go to the bishop and tell him I want to build a church here. And he runs back, you know, and he says, hey, bishop, you know, this woman appeared to me. She's a dark skin. She said she's the Virgin. And so we have to build a church. And the bishop said, no, we're not. What are you, crazy? What are you smoking mezcal? Something. And so he goes back, and she appears again, and she says, go up there and collect flowers. Now, it was winter, so there weren't any flowers. But he goes up there, and he collects a big thing of flowers. And he brings it to the bishop, and the bishop says, okay, let's build a church. And that church still stands, and it's just huge, and it's really popular. But it's also built upon the mother goddess of the Aztec people. So, when they're asking me about the Virgen de Guadalupe, I'm getting just a little bit nervous. And they say, well, we have to show you this, And so they showed me this photo of him climbing up the mountain, their patriarch. And they said, do you see Jesus there? And I said, where? Do you see him there? And I'm just looking, and they say, look, there's his face, there's his hair, and there's his shroud on the coat of their patriarch. He was wearing some jacket, then he had a robe that was coming out of his waist area. So they said, do you see it? And they're all looking at me, and they said, not everybody sees it, but we know that you're going to see it. And so in that moment, I thought, oh my gosh, what do I do? I don't want to offend these people. So I said, your faith and your story is so inspiring. I'm just honored that you would share it with me. So I got out of it in a diplomatic way. I didn't have to say that I saw anything or not, because there was a lot of pressure at the time. But the point of that story, the point I wanted to tell you that story is each moment that we're faced with something like that is a chance to practice our practice. And I love the theme for this month, be a channel for peace and for change in the world. And Cheryl just happened to read what is probably one of my most favorite treatments out of the Science of Mind textbook. I had to have it memorized. She was reading it, and I'm just blah, 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 going right along, because it's a treatment for peace of mind. And peace of mind is just, it's everything. Because peace is an inside job. It's not an outside job. Just a quick story. The other day, a friend of mine, she said, Randy, I need a miracle. And I thought, oh no, what happened? So she said, my son-in-law is in jail. He's in arrear on child support, and the judge is threatening to put him away for 6 months. And I said, oh my gosh. And she said, and it's not his fault. And she told me the whole story. And I said, well, what do you need from me? She said, I need a miracle. I said, okay, I'm going to help you with this, but only if you guarantee me that you're going to 100% believe that things are going to work out as they should in a divine way. And so she said, okay. So I wrote up this treatment, and in the treatment, what I talked about was for her son-in-law, there's perfect liberty, there's perfect justice, there's perfect freedom. Everyone around him knows it and recognizes it, and that I told her how to do a treatment, I taught her how to have that conviction. And so she sends me a text, and she said, guess what, $500 bond, and he's free. And I said, well, good, So once again, another opportunity to turn things around. Ernest Holmes, in case any of you don't know, he is the founder of religious science, Science of Mind, which is what this place practices and what I also practice. He has a lot to say about peace, and this is a poem that's at the very beginning of the Science of Mind book there. You open this like page 2, it's right up there. And he says, it's a poem, and it says, peace be unto thee, stranger, be not afraid. I have left the gate open, and thou art welcome to my home. There is room in my house for all. I have swept the hearth and lighted the fire. The room is warm and cheerful, and you will find rest within. The table is laid, and the fruits of life are spread before thee. The wine is here also, and it sparkles in the light. I have a chair set for you where the sunbeams dance through the shades. Sit and rest and refresh your soul. Eat of the fruit and drink the wine. All is yours, and you are welcome. So that's a pretty bold poem about peace. And he's expanding on how peace is something that we give. We give to other people. And, I watched the news a little bit this morning, then I turned it off because, it was people pointing fingers at each other and not saying very nice things about each other. So one day a week or more. I often fast from the news for that very reason. So, well, first, just let me ask a question. Can we change the world? Can we? How do we start?
With ourselves.
Change is an inside job. Peace is an inside job. That is exactly right. Most change happens as a reaction to something. Like, say you have an illness, like the story that I told you about, the guy who climbed up the mountain. His wife was sick, so he decided to do something different, which is why we usually change. So change usually happens as a reaction to something. Say, you get in a car wreck, or you lose your partner, or you lose your house, or you lose your job. So then you decide you have to change. And of course, we're coming on the biggest change of the year, aren't we? February, January, January 1st. That's when everybody changes. That's when everybody makes resolutions. But I would like to say, make the change before you need to make it. And it's a word I came up with. I call it pre-actionary. So instead of being a reactionary, be a pre-actionary. That is the best time to actually make change. See if I want to tell you this story or not. I love stories. So it's a quick story. The night before the Buddha, the night before he received final enlightenment, he was tempted by the god of destruction and evil, Mara. So Mara comes to him and says, I will offer you everything. I'll offer you women and wealth and position. You'll be the top politician in the world. You'll be the biggest person that there ever was. And sounds a lot like what happened when Jesus went into the desert. So it's a really similar stories. But the Buddha had such a heart of compassion that he was immune. And, Mara, it said he unleashed all of his armies to just attack the Buddha all night. And because his heart was so compassionate and so filled with compassion, he went on and he reached enlightenment, the final enlightenment, and he taught in India for 45 years after that. So Mara came to him again and again and again throughout his life. And then I love this part of the story. Every time that Mara would come, Buddha would say, is that you, Mara? Are you here to tempt me again? So I like to ask myself that, is that you, Mara? Are you tempting me again? Are you trying to make me say something I don't want to? But one time, late in Buddha's life, he was in this cave and he'd been meditating for days and days and days. And sure enough, Mara comes, and his disciples were saying, we know who you are. Get out of here. And they said, you're an enemy of the Buddha. So Mara says, did the Buddha say he has enemies? So of course they said, oops, so they had to let him into the cave. And so Buddha said, make some tea for me and for Mara. And they're like, we don't want to make him any tea. And he said, make some tea. So he said, Mara, how have you been? And he said, I'm a little bummed out. And he said, I'm so tired of people scorning me and cursing at me, and I'm so tired of speaking in this crazy devilish voice. And so the Buddha listens very compassionately, and he says, do you think it's easy being the Buddha? Do you know what people do in my name? Do you know what they say about my teachings? How they persecute me? Do you know what they're doing in the temples that they build? Do you know the things that they build to represent me and say I made them do it? And so the point of that little story is no one escapes their own fate. So being a channel for peace, of course, all that we really can do is, we have to change our own selves. And you really can't be a channel for peace, can you? Or change unless you yourself have some of that peacefulness. And so I'm going to give you some ways that you can maybe do that. But, part of it is you have to surrender the idea that you're in control of other people and that you're in control of the world. People say to me often, but the world is so terrible, the world is so bad. What can one person do? I remember about 20 years ago, I was living up in Albuquerque, and one of my massage clients was so depressed and so distraught, and I said, what's going on? She said, I'm so upset, about animal cruelty. I'm so upset about corruption. I'm so upset about that, and I don't know what to do. I feel so helpless and so powerful and so powerless. So I helped her to understand how to not necessarily give her attention to all of those things. And I taught her how to meditate, taught her how to be peaceful, taught her how to say affirmations, and she went on to be pretty happy. So let's talk about change. This is what I love what Rumi says about change. He says, "Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself." So let's talk about change, which comes around every 4 years, doesn't it, in this country? This country needs a change. Politicians. Okay, first of all, out of these, I'm going to give you 10 ways to be a positive channel for change in this world. First one is change yourself, obviously, which we've talked about a little bit. Change yourself. Change the way that you change your expectations about people. Change the idea, the thought that you can control anyone else. The second, which is probably my most favorite, is remember that you are in control only of your own thoughts and your own reactions. When people first come to the science of mind, they have a hard time believing that they can actually choose their thoughts. But you really do choose your thought, and you especially choose the way that you can react to something. When I was driving to my gig the other night, traffic was pretty terrible, and so people were cutting off and going too slow for me, and I caught myself, and I thought, all right, just the only thing that I can really control is my own speed, my own mouth, and my own thoughts. So you are in control of your thoughts and your reactions. That's the number 2 way to be a positive channel for change. Number 3 is to forgive and let go. And when we say forgive and let go, we mean really let go. Not just a little bit. I mean, you have to completely let it go, like that song says, in Frozen. I love that song. Forgive and let go. If you have to make a list of people that you need to forgive, this is the best time of the year to do it. They didn't send me a card, okay, so I couldn't forgive them. Number 4 is take some kind of action every single day to change. Take some kind of little action every single day, or take some big action every day. Just do something to change. And if you have to, make a list of what you want to change. Don't change just because you think that you need to change, but change. It's good to remember that every second, 10 million cells die, 10 million cells are recreated. Every 7 years, all the cells in your body have changed. So look at that, That's freedom, I think. Number 5 is to be present in the moment. Ask yourself what needs to change in this moment. What needs attention in this moment? What needs attention? What needs to change? Number 6 is remember that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And not just you, but everyone is having the exact same experience. So in other words, we're all human this time around. So learn to put up with people's quirks and foibles and don't think, if they weren't like that, and how often have you heard that, right? My boss is just terrible if they weren't like that, or if my partner would only change. Mm-hmm. Number 7, persist. Persist, stay at it. Number 8, see the good in people and help them. Recognize that good and acknowledge that good. Number 9 is be your authentic self all the time. All the time. Don't be someone this way, someone the other way, just because you're around different people, because people are either going to accept you, and the ones that do will they will remain. I was telling Skip, I hope I don't clip this accidentally and go up. And then Skip said, well, you'll really light up the room if you do. So I love Skip. Number 10, continue to learn, grow, and to evolve. We're always evolving. We're always growing. Learn, read, read. Go to workshops. Watch. There's some great stuff on YouTube, some great seminars by Abraham Hicks, by Eckhart Tolle, by Joe Dispenza. Okay, so those are the 10 ways that you can, little small ways that you can actually change. And just remember, you really can't change the color of the sea, but I would like to think that everything that we do, every action of peace, every action of change, changes the sea of humanity. It certainly adds to it. And be careful to not to not make myths out of people. Like you see the Dalai Lama and you think, oh, he's so patient, he's so peaceful, I will never be that strong. Remember, he's a human too, so try not to mythologize those kind of people, because what will happen is that you will be disconnected from them, and you'll think that you can never be like them. So just remember, they're also human. There's a great quote by Mother Teresa that I had on my fridge for years and years and years, but now I have a really nice fridge and I don't have any magnets on it. So and she says, if you can't do great things, do little things, but with great big love. And if you can't do them with great big love, then do them with a little love. And if you can't do them with even a little love, do them anyway. She said, love grows when people serve. And there's so many stories, but I have to stick to this. So. Every time I start talking, I would come up with a slightly different story, but okay, just a quick one. So try and stay in time too. So I was playing at hospice recently. I play my flute. I've been playing there for about 10 years. And I'm playing, and what reminded me of it is the song choice that they did this morning. And I'm playing in the hallway, and I'm blah, 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 blah. And this little boy comes up to me, maybe about 6, and he says, "Excuse me, sir." He says, "How much will you charge to play for my grandmother?" I was like, oh, no, just tell me what her room number is. So I go in there, and I play Silent Night. I'm playing Silent Night, and so then I see her daughter is on one side of there holding her hand, and then her son is on this side of her, and I'm playing Silent Night. I'm trying not to get choked up because it's very moving. But I'm playing it, and what comes to mind is just that is the true nature of this season. When I sign Christmas cards, I always say, may all of the peace of the season be yours. I find that's just a lot less contentious than Merry Christmas or anything else. So that's just one way that I try to affect change and affect peace, spread peace. Ernest Holmes said, peace comes from the absence of fear, from a consciousness of trust, from a deep underlying faith in the absolute goodness and mercy, the final integrity of the universe in which we live, and of every cause to which we give our thought, our time, and our attention. So, I told you about 10 ways you can be a channel for change. I'm going to give you 10 ways you can be a channel for peace. And like I said, the other night was such a beautiful reminder that each one of us we're part of the larger spiritual community here. And everything that we do, every interaction that we have, it reflects and it builds on this community. So here's 10 ways to be a channel for peace. Number 1, stay out of gossip. Be impeccable with your word. Just don't do it. Don't gossip about yourself even. Be careful about that. Don't say anything that is going to lessen you in any way, and certainly don't engage in gossip with other people. Number 2 is watch your emotional reactions. Okay, when you're driving, shopping, watching the news, that kind of thing. So that's the number 2 way you can be a channel for peace, is watch your emotional reactions. Number 3 is help people out. Help seniors. Help caregivers. I was a caregiver for quite some time, and I know I could have really used to help. If you know somebody that's taking care of someone right now, go offer to do their laundry. go offer to vacuum, those little things, go offer to wash their car, even better yet, offer to take them to a movie or to pay for them to go to a movie. Those little ways, they'll spread peace. Volunteer to a cause that's important to you. Hospice, animals, hospitals, teaching people English, Jardín de los Niños. There's so many resources here. Really listen next time someone is talking to you. And I mean really listen with your entire body. Be as present as you can. Really listen. You know that's what makes good actors. They listen. That's why Meryl Streep is so good. She looks like she's really listening. Teach someone to meditate. Teach someone about your spirituality. Not in a heavy-handed way, but just teach someone to meditate. And if you don't know how to meditate, get a hold of me. I'll be glad to help you with that. Fast from the news for one day or more. Just fast from it. I have a degree in journalism, and our tagline was, if it bleeds, it leads, and so news is meant to sensationalize so that we'll pay more attention to it. Fast from it. Make eye contact with a stranger, if it's okay, you can tell if you really shouldn't, but make direct eye contact with people. I was in Walmart the other day. Oh my gosh. I hadn't been there in a long time, and I was overwhelmed by the stimulus in there. Kids were screaming, adults were screaming. This guy was having a fight with one of the employees, calling him all kinds of names. I thought, this is Christmas. But I made eye contact. I made sure I made eye contact with my cashier, the person in front of me in line. Those little things can really help. Go through all your stuff and donate it to a cause. No better time of the year to get rid of your blankets, your pillows. Donate them to Goodwill. Donate them to wherever. This is one that I like in particular. Only post positive stuff online. It's tempting, isn't it? Can you believe what Dick Cheney said? I did that the other day because I thought it was funny. People were fighting with each other. Oh, well, yeah, how can you torture this? Well, dead babies' heads. I'm like, wow, what happened? Gosh. We weren't exactly being a positive example. So that's what I have learned, to do that. So, and if you want to know all of these, you can ask me for them later, and I'll let you write them down if you're interested. Buddha said, be a lamp unto yourself, make a light, make yourself a light. That's why I'm wearing these today. So trying to be that light, be that change. There's that famous bumper sticker by Gandhi. It says, be the change you want to see in the world. And that's absolutely true. If you don't like corruption, then don't engage in corruption, even at the smallest level. There's so many ways that we as spiritual people can be positive channels and examples of peace. And it's all within you. It's all within you. You already know how to do this stuff. You already know. I'll end with just a little tiny story, I promise. So there was this man in the Middle East, and he was wrongly imprisoned. And it was an injustice, of course. And so his friend brought him a gift. His friend brought him a prayer rug, and he was really upset. He said, a prayer rug? A rug? Oh, couldn't you bring me a file or a hammer, or some way, or a key would be even better. So there he goes, and then he starts, praying every day. And every day, after a few weeks, he realized in the rug was a diagram of how to escape. In that rug. So that's within you. Okay, let's go into some meditation time now if we can. Go ahead and close your eyes. And as you inhale, simply feel the coolness as you inhale on your nose and your nostrils. As you exhale, feel that warmth. And know that in this moment, You are a perfect example of peace. You are a perfect example of change. Nothing need be added or taken away from anything that you're doing right now in this moment. Put your attention on your heart. Imagine it as a gentle sun glowing and growing, radiating out. And as it radiates out, it radiates peace and compassion. Think of someone you really care about, someone important in your life, whether they're still here or not. And feel the love and the kindness and compassion you have for them. And allow that feeling to permeate your entire body. And know that that peace is always available to you. That love is always available to you. And as you go through these holidays, know that everyone you interact with on a daily basis is somehow changed and affected by your peacefulness, by the light radiating in and through you. And know the affirmation, I am at peace with the world in which I live. I am at home in the divine spirit in which I am immersed. I am at peace with the world in which I live. If you take nothing else, take that with you today and know that you are at peace with the world in which you live. It is done, it is complete, it is perfect, and so it is.